Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog, where I had a subject already prepared that I wanted to discuss, but something popped into my head at the last minute that I want to discuss that I think is worth discussing before I forget it. So I'm going to do it now because I have been doing vlogs. I did one about Donald Trump, the issue that he should push really hard in his re-election campaign to black voters, which is education, to promise to work hard for charter schools and to fight the public school unions that are keeping black kids in these underperforming schools. And that could be a vlog too that I'll do someday. Actually, I did one years ago about the Detroit schools. I went to school in Detroit. I went to a school called Schultz School. It was a good school, but if you look at that school today, the school is still there, it still exists, but it's at the bottom or very near the bottom of the rankings of the quality of the education that it gives kids today. And the tragedy is that, well, Detroit, as you now know from an earlier vlog, it's 83% black. And the kids who are being hurt, they are almost entirely black. They could be 100% black in that particular school, Schultz School. I want Trump to talk about that subject, but today I want to make another suggestion, and this suggestion is for black voters. I'm sure some of you already know, even from my past vlogs, recent ones, that a lot of black voters are moving to the Republican Party. I mentioned two polls. I mentioned a poll of likely black voters, the Rasmussen poll, with an approval of 34% of Donald Trump by black voters. I also mentioned an Emerson poll of registered black voters that showed support of 34.5%. So first of all, as a Jew, most of us are Democrats, but I'm not a Republican, I'm an independent, but I'm a conservative. I am definitely voting for Donald Trump. So first of all, welcome to the club. Welcome to the family. The club of people who are willing to take, traditional Democratic voters who are willing to take an independent, fresh look at the Republican Party and think about whether your true values lie there. I would also mention that when we vote by secret ballot, and that is the precise reason why we have secret ballots, so you can say whatever you want to make your friends feel better if you want to, though I would feel better if, like me, people who are embracing the Republican Party, or at least being willing to consider the Republicans and voting for Donald Trump, be open about you believe and demand your right to have your own beliefs and not have to go along with a crowd. I don't want to go too far on that subject. I just want to say welcome to the club, because I can say that as a Jew, most of us traditionally have voted for Democrats, but I vote for Republicans. The last Democrat I voted for was Jimmy Carter. I learned from my mistake. I voted for Ronald Reagan. I never looked back. Someday I'll do a vlog about what started my transition away from the Democratic Party. I have a feeling that some of you, if you are black or Jewish or Hispanic, that you are going through the same process. But the voters I want to address today are black voters who want to remain Democrats, who do not want to switch their affiliation to the Republican Party, who want to remain Democrats, but who are concerned, maybe even dismayed, with the Democratic Party as it is today, a far left party. If you're a moderate, you may be very distressed with the Democratic Party, but I want to specifically address black voters who are very traditionally very strong Democrats, and I want to suggest why you may want to, why you should consider voting Republican this time, to vote for Donald Trump even if you want to remain a Democrat. And the reason is the reason I want to focus on black Democratic voters today is because, as I'm sure a lot of black voters are realizing, the Democratic Party takes you for granted. They are happy to reach out to you when it's time for an election, and then they forget about you until the next election. And, well, let me throw in another aside. I wonder how many of you watching me today have seen the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still. I'm not talking about the recent remake. I didn't waste my time with that one. I'm talking about the original classic one from the 1950s, directed by Robert Wise, starring Michael Rennie and Patricia Neal and the robot Gort. The reason I mention that movie is because, well, let me briefly summarize the plot for everybody, especially those who have never seen the movie. Michael Rennie plays an alien who comes from, I guess there's a United Nations of planets, United Planets, I forgot what they called it. But anyways, he comes to deliver a warning to us Earthlings to change our violent ways because we're starting to discover space travel. These other planets, the United Planets or whatever they're called, don't want us to infect the universe with our violence. So we are warned either to change our ways or the United Planets or whatever they're called will reduce Earth to, I believe the term was, a burning cinder, which, as I look at politics today, might not be a bad idea. Something for the United Planets to consider. If you're out there, put us out of our misery. You might be doing us a favor. But the point I want to make about that movie is that to get the people of Earth to take that warning seriously, he has to demonstrate his power. So what he does, and that's why the movie is called The Day the Earth Stood Still, is he cuts off all energy, all power on the entire planet for 1 hour. That's to demonstrate his power, and that brings me to my suggestion for black voters, for those black voters who are Democrats and don't want to switch to the Republicans, but want the Democratic Party to listen to them. The suggestion I want to make is a way for black Democrats to move the party back and to get the party to take you into consideration, to listen to you, because you have a lot of power. You have to, well, I'm sure you do understand that the Democrats, they're dismayed. They are trying to write off this 34% likely black voter approval of Donald Trump. They're just whistling past the graveyard. They're trying to deny that result. I read one tweet by some pundit that those numbers can't be real, that can't possibly be true. Well, we'll find out next November. But the reason they are reacting so strongly to those poll results is because Democrats cannot win an election without the black vote. They just cannot, especially if we're talking about the presidential race. They cannot. If black voters deserted the Democrats and voted for Republicans, then it's pretty safe to say that Democrats would never win another presidential election. The point being that you have a lot of power, but you don't use it. You need to use it, and the way you use it is to demonstrate that power, and that's going to be my suggestion. I want to talk about a former Democratic congressman, a very powerful former Democratic congressman, Dan Rostenkowski. He was a congressman from Chicago. He was head of the House Ways and Means Committee, had been in Congress for years, very powerful, but also, as it turned out, very corrupt. I'm not going to go into the details of what he did. The point is that he lost his next election. His constituents voted him out in the very next election, even though it was a very heavily Democratic district. They voted for the Republican, a Republican whose name I can't even remember. He served for only one term, and then the Democrats, the Democratic majority in that district, they reverted back to form, and they voted for a Democrat in the very next election. And that brings me to my suggestion for black voters, which is to use the Rostenkowski example to demonstrate your power. For example, I showed a couple of vlogs ago a clip of an Elizabeth Warren rally or speech that was interrupted by black attendees chanting for charter schools, chanting against Elizabeth Warren's opposition to charter schools. So I would, if I were a black voter, I would build on that. I would say, we want charter schools. I believe that most black voters are pro-life. So they say, I want the Democrats to be pro-life. I want that to be the Democratic platform, so on and so forth. Your demands, list your demands, use your power, list your demands and say, if we don't get this, if you won't even talk to us, if you're going to take us for granted, then we'll just vote for Donald Trump in the next election. We'll vote for the Republican. We'll vote for a Republican congressman. You do that, you show that you were, if Trump is reelected, that you were instrumental in that. If you show a statistic that 34% of black voters or more voted for Donald Trump, if a heavily black, heavily Democratic district replaces their Democratic congressman with a Republican congressman, I can guarantee you that among Democrats, the Democratic powers to be, the alarm bells will go off. They will listen to you then. They will come on their hands and knees and say, what do we have to do to get your vote back? And then you can say, we want charter schools. We want this. We want that. We want the other thing. Demand what you want, and they will listen to you. And then you would say, we voted for the Republicans once. We can do it again. If you ever fail to listen to us again, we can do again what we just did. You do that, and you will have much more power in the Democratic Party. You will be listened to. But I will also say that the same is true in another way for Republicans. If you vote for Republicans, I guarantee you that your vote will not be taken for granted. The Republicans will, just as you're trying to get the Democrats to do, the Republicans will listen to you. They will listen to you. They will try to appeal to you. And then, do you understand, black voters? Then you will have power on both sides. If you show yourself to be a vote that can be won by Democrats or Republicans, they will both have to listen to you. That is the power that you have. I am urging you to use it, and I guess I'm also urging you to come back and see me again. Well, before you do that, though, because that won't be for another 24 hours, or, yeah, be another 24 hours the day that I'm recording this, you can, in the meantime, thumbs up if you like this video. Share it with anybody you think would also like the video. Got any comments? Put them in the comments section below the video. Subscribe. I love getting subscribers. And finally, come back and see me again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.